At 2:13 a.m., the red and blue lights on a police cruiser were bouncing off the wet resin in my driveway, like a rave had crashed a crime scene. Most nights, flashing lights mean something terrible. In my subdivision, they meant something worse. I'd offended the HOA. I was outside in gym shorts and a t-shirt, wearing safety goggles like a discount mad scientist. In one hand, a heat gun. In the other, a tub of iridescent flake that said "Do not inhale" in bold letters. My driveway looked like a lightning map. Cracks everywhere, branching and webbing out. The kind of slab you get when the builder pours it fast and the ground keeps shifting. I wasn't out there for fun. I was out there because 2 weeks earlier, Patty Lark, the HOA president of Maple Ridge Commons, decided my driveway was an insult to community standards. She showed up with a clipboard and that tight little smile people wear when they love rules more than humans. "Evan," she said, pointing at the concrete, "this is a hazard. Article 6. 14 days. Fill the cracks. Make it uniform." Uniform. That word hit me like a slap. I've spent a lot of my life being told to stay quiet and blend in. Growing up, anytime I got excited about something, somebody would call it too much. At work, I'm the guy people underestimate because my job sounds boring. And in this neighborhood, I was the easy target. The quiet house, the couple that doesn't host big cookouts, the one driveway Patty could fix without anyone pushing back. So I did what Patty never expected. I read the HOA rules like they were a puzzle with a hidden door. They demanded industry-standard masonry or epoxy compound. Sealed. Level. Durable. Nowhere did they demand gray. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm outside at 2 in the morning with chemicals, Patty gave me 14 days to fix it. She didn't say anything about doing it like a normal person. The officers stepped out and stopped at the curb like it was the edge of sanity. The older one, Davis, squinted at the glowing seams. The younger one, Kim, just stared. "Sir," Davis said, "we got a call about fire and radioactive goo." "It's resin," I said. 2-part crack filler. "I'm sealing." Kim pointed down. "Why is it glowing?" "Glow pigment," I said. "UV light check." Davis eyed the tub. "Is that sand?" "No. Solvent-safe flake. The heat gun pops bubbles so the bond stays strong." Davis rubbed his face. "It is 2 in the morning. Humidity spikes at dawn," I said, and I heard how unhinged I sounded. But I also knew this was my property, my driveway, my problem. Davis sighed. 10 minutes. Then you go inside." The cruiser stayed at the curb like they were watching a show. I stepped onto dry concrete, opened the tub, and tossed the flake into the tacky resin. Under the streetlight, it floated down and locked into the glowing seams. The cracks didn't just shine now. They sparkled. And across the street, behind her curtains, I could feel Patty realizing she'd accidentally given the quiet guy on the block a reason to get loud. The next morning, my wife, Mia, pulled back the blinds and froze. "Why is our driveway shimmering?" "It's sealed," I said. "Done." "It looks like a nightclub got struck by lightning," she said, and honestly, she wasn't wrong. By lunch, an orange envelope was taped to our door. HOA notice. Non-conforming aesthetic. $250 per day until corrected. My hands shook. Not fear, anger. Because it was never about safety. It was control. Patty wanted me to blink first. Mia read the notice, then looked at me like she already knew what was coming. "Please," she said, softer now, "don't turn this into a war." I wanted to promise her I wouldn't. But something in me was tired of swallowing things to keep the peace. "I'm not starting a war," I said. "I'm just not surrendering." So I went back to the rules and found a line Patty clearly forgot existed. Driveway lighting was permitted and encouraged for safety. That night, I installed outdoor LED strips along the perimeter. Waterproof, low voltage, app-controlled. Mia watched from the porch like she was witnessing a bad decision get born. At dusk, I tapped my phone. The driveway lit up in clean white lines, the glitter through reflections everywhere, and the glowing seams looked alive. The light spilled across the street into Patty's beige living room like a rainbow she did not request. Her front door flew open. Patty stormed out in a robe. "Turn it off," I yelled back. "It's safety lighting, Patty." Encouraged by the rules. 10 minutes later, Davis and Kim were back. Davis blinked at my driveway and said, "Mr. Carter, can you dim the sun?" Kim wore sunglasses at night and nodded like he kind of respected it. I slid the brightness down. Davis muttered something about civil matter and left. That was the last time the police visited. I think they hit their lifetime quota of driveway drama. Patty didn't stop, though. The next day, she taped another notice to my door. This one with extra drama. It threatened a lien if the fine stacked up. It also included a business card for an approved contractor, like a subtle little shove toward a kickback. That's when it clicked. This wasn't standards. This was a shakedown. And right when I was standing there holding that card, trying not to explode, Patty's tiny white dog, a fluffy little thing named Latte, slipped out of her yard and trotted right onto my driveway. I swear the universe timed it for maximum chaos. Latte stepped into a fresh seam I'd retouched near the curb and froze, one paw lifted, realizing too late that sparkly river meant sticky resin. Then he panicked. Hop, 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 leaving neon paw prints like he'd run through alien paint. Patty screamed from her porch like I'd personally attacked her bloodline. You glued my dog. I didn't glue your dog, I yelled back, grabbing a towel and crouching low. Your dog trespassed. That sounds ridiculous, but in that moment, it was the truth I needed. I lifted Latte up by his harness, carried him back onto the grass, and wiped his paws until he stopped shaking. Patty snatched him and held him like a hostage. Her eyes were wild. I'm calling everyone, she hissed. Police. Animal control. The board. Call them, I said, breathing hard. And while you're at it, read your own rules. When she marched inside, I looked down at the paw prints still stamped across my driveway, and I surprised myself. I didn't hate them. They were messy. They were real. They were proof this wasn't just about concrete anymore. So I mixed a small batch of metallic amber and carefully filled the paw prints in, like I was signing the piece. Then I made a call of my own. Big Lou Marquez showed up in a dusty work truck, stepped onto my driveway, and stared at it in silence. Patty appeared beside him, ready to win. Lou, she said, sweet as poison. Tell him this isn't compliant. Lou squatted, tapped the resin with a screwdriver, then stood up. This is bonded, he said. Patty smiled. So you can remove it. Lou shook his head. If I jackhammer this, I rip the slab with it. This stuff is stronger than the concrete. Patty's smile died. Lou glanced at the glittering seams and shrugged. Also, it's kind of awesome. Patty looked like she'd swallowed a battery, and I thought that was the climax. Until the internet got involved. A delivery driver filmed my driveway for maybe 20 seconds and posted it with a caption like, HOA tried him. He went full rainbow. By the next morning, strangers were parked on our street taking photos. My driveway became a backdrop for dances, selfies, and drone shots. Mia looked out the window and said, Congratulations. You built a tourist attraction. The local news showed up, too. A reporter asked why I did it. I looked into the camera and said, Because I'm tired of being told to hide the cracks. People heard that, and they brought their own stories with it. Comment sections filled up with anybody who'd ever been pushed around by someone with a clipboard. And that's when the developer noticed. A week later, a man in a corporate suit knocked on my door. He introduced himself as Holbrook, representing the original developer. He didn't care about art. He cared about liability. Your driveway has drawn attention to cracking throughout the community, he said. He showed me posts from contractors calling the original pours thin and sloppy, people asking if the whole neighborhood was built cheap. Holbrook swallowed. We're announcing a voluntary replacement program. We will repair every driveway in Maple Ridge Commons, free of charge. I blinked. Every driveway. He nodded. Every driveway. Except yours. Why not mine? He pointed down at the sparkling seams. Because yours is sealed and reinforced. You made it structurally sound. So we're not obligated. Across the street, Patty watched from her porch like she'd just realized she'd lit the fuse on her own house. The HOA meeting that month was packed. Patty sat at the front table with her gavel, trying to look in charge while jackhammers tore up the neighborhood all week. She opened with my name. Evan Carter has accumulated fines totaling $9,750 for aesthetic violations and light disturbance. The board will waive them if he removes the installation and returns to standards. I walked to the podium, heart pounding, not because I was scared, because I was done being small. The rules say safe, sealed, durable, I said. I did that. Better than the original builders, apparently. Murmurs, then laughs. I held up a statement. The fines are paid. The room erupted. Someone yelled, Let the man sparkle. Big Lou, leaning in the back, called out, That's good work, leave it alone. Then the meeting stopped being about me. People started venting. The trash can warnings, the grass measurements, the petty citations. Years of swallowed frustration poured out like someone finally opened a valve. Patty looked around like she'd lost her grip on the whole neighborhood. Her shoulders slumped. "Fine," she said, quiet. The room laughed, not cruel, just relieved. Patty snapped, "Fine. Keep it. I resign." She grabbed her papers and marched out, muttering about moving somewhere with rules. That night, our street threw an unofficial block party. Kids traced the glowing seams like rivers on a map. Neighbors stood around laughing like they'd been waiting years to breathe. I stood in the middle of my driveway and felt something I didn't expect. Not victory, exactly. Relief. Like I finally stopped folding myself into smaller shapes just to keep someone else comfortable. But here's where it gets messy. 2 days later, the new HOA board emailed me. Not a fine, a request. They asked if I'd consider doing a similar repair for the cracked community sidewalks as a beautification project. So tell me this. Was I right to turn a repair into a statement, or did I cross a line the moment it started affecting everyone else? Where do you draw the line between community rules and personal freedom? And if you've ever dealt with an HOA bully, what happened? Drop your take in the comments. And if you've got your own malicious compliance story, share it. I'm reading everyone.